Good morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Klamath, California, right on the Klamath River. Today's verse is 1 Peter 4:9. Be hospitable to one another without complaint. Now, I found out a couple of interesting things about this word hospitable. The word in Greek is philoxenos. Philo, you probably know from Philadelphia, and which means brotherly love. And xenos, you might know from the word xenophobia, which is the fear of strangers or foreigners or outsiders. So philoxenos, our word for hospitality, is really showing brotherly love to outsiders. Okay, that's the idea of it. The second thing I learned was, if you would have asked me, I would have thought this word hospitality would be found a good dozen times at least throughout the New Testament. But I found out it's only used here and two other times, mainly in scriptures that talk about the qualifications of being an elder. An elder must be hospitable. And those are the only times you see this. So elders should be really at the forefront of showing that love for outsiders. On that note also, loving outsiders makes me think of the parable of the Good Samaritan. See, I have my Good Sam Club card here, and I think that was originally built after the idea of being a Good Samaritan. But we don't often think of this, that this Samaritan person who was hated by Jews saw a Jew who was in need. He was beaten up by robbers and he was robbed. So this Samaritan, this hated person, took him, bandaged his wounds, brought him to an inn, and even paid the innkeeper to keep caring for him and tending for his wounds till he got back. And that's really showing hospitality, love for outsiders. It would be like somebody from Hamas doing that for a Jew now. It would just be, wow, I thought they was supposed to be enemies, but this guy is showing brotherly love for this outsider. So are we willing to do that too? Think about this verse, Luke 6:32. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. So we should be willing to love those who are outside of our group, right? Those who are not of our religion. We might show love to Muslims or atheists. We need to show a lot of love as Christians. That's kind of the bottom line. Back to our main verse. It says, be hospitable to one another without complaint. Well, let's look at another familiar verse, and that is James 2:15 and 16. If a brother or sister is without clothing and in need of daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, be warmed, be filled, and yet you do not give them what is necessary for their body, what use is that? Ooh, that's pretty hard hitting, and I could stop right there and just let Scripture minister to your heart just on its own. But I got two other things to think about. First of all, a lot of us cranky Christians will fold our arms and say, well, they probably got themselves in that position by making bad decisions. They probably blew their money on wine, women, and song, and now they're in this bad position. So I'm just going to let them wallow in their bad decision and teach them a lesson. Well, that's not showing hospitality without complaint. That's a lot of complaining. Just imagine if an EMT service responded to a drunk driving crash and they folded their arms and said, well, we're not going to treat him because he was driving drunk. No, you've got to treat him. We've got to minister to their needs, and we'll deal with the lesson later, okay? Secondly, some of us may fear that, well, if we give them all these things for their need, they're just going to use us. We're going to be their tool. Well, remember in the Sermon on the Mount, it says, do good to those who persecute you. So think about this. If a alcoholic asks me for a drink, the loving answer is to say no. But I'll buy you a cup of coffee, and I'll spend my money on you that way, because that's appropriate and that's really ministering. Then it gives me a chance to chit-chat with you and talk to you about the love of God. So let's show hospitality without complaint, because if we love every moment, we're going to love every moment. I'm your average wretch, and I hope you have a great week.